All right, all right, all right. So again, it's called Purim, a memorial of destruction. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started, right? So uh we're gonna open up with additions to Esther, chapter 16 and verse 23. Go ahead and read that.
This is the book of additions to Esther, chapter 16, verse 23. That both now and hereafter there may be safety to us and the well affected Persians, but to those which do conspire against us, a memorial of destruction.
A memorial of destruction. So Purim is a memorial of destruction. And so let's go into Purim, let's go into Esther, and let's try to find out how all this even got started, right? So let's start off with additions to Esther 10 and 5.
This is the book of additions to Esther, chapter 10, verse 5. For I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed.
Go to verse 7.
Verse 7. And the two dragons are I and Haman.
And the two dragons are I and Haman. So this Purim, the whole Purim, it started with Mordecai and Haman. That's how the whole situation started, with Mordecai and Haman, right? All right, so let's go to Esther and let's go to Esther chapter 1, and we're going to read to verse 3.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even to Ethiopia, over 120 provinces.
Read on.
That in those days, when King Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Susan of the palace,
Shushan.
Susan of the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him.
All right, so the king of Persia, he was in charge of from Persia all the way to Ethiopia. He had that whole region on lock, right? So in this place in Persia, in this place called Shushan, he's decided that he's gonna make like a little ball or whatever, right? This is where he's gonna choose his wife. So let's read on. Let's go to the next chapter. Let's go to chapter 2, and let's start at verse 5.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 2, verse 5. Now in Susan, the palace, there was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite.
So Mordecai was a Benjamite. All right, read on.
Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, the king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away.
So what's going on is when Babylon took over Israel, when they came in and they took Israel captive, from there, Persia defeated Babylon, and then now Persia inherited basically all the slaves, all the captives, which were the Israelites, right? Read on.
And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
So Mordecai raised Esther as his own daughter, right? Let's jump down to verse 31. Oh, I mean, sorry. My bad. Let's 21.
Verse 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlains, Bigdan and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth and sought to lay hands on the king of Ahasuerus.
So the king of Persia, there was two men who were planning to plot against the king of Persia. Mordecai witnessed this. He saw what was going on. Read on.
And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name.
So Mordecai told Esther, Esther told the king. Read on.
And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore, they were both hang on the tree.
So they hung these two men that were plotting against the king of Persia. Read on.
and it was written in the book of the Chronicles before the king.
So they wrote it down, right? They put it away. So Mordecai basically snitched. Mordecai basically told on these two men and got these two men hung. All right. So we remember we're trying to understand how this whole situation started, right? And the only way we can understand it is by reading it. So we know that Mordecai told on these two men that were plotting against the king of Persia, and he told Queen Esther. Queen Esther told the king had them hung. Now, this is where things get crazy. Let's go to the next chapter, chapter 3, and let's start at verse 1.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
So now it's an important thing to know, right? The king of Persia set Haman, right? Haman is an Edomite. How do we know he's an Edomite? Because he says Hamathadatha, right? Hamathadath, the Agagite. So the Agagite, that is speaking of an Edomite, right? Because Agites are Edomites. Let's prove it real quick. I'm gonna just show you real quick. This is 1 Samuel 15 and 8, right? Read that. Read 1 Samuel.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 15, verse 8. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword.
So Agag, that's an Agagite. That's who Haman is. Haman is an Agagite. That means he comes from Agag. Agag was the king of the Amalekites. That's Edomites. So let's I'm gonna show you this right here. So Agag, right? So Agag or Agag, however you want to say it. Oh, my bad. Hold on. Right here, H90. So it says Agag, king of Amalek, right? So Agagite is an Amalek. Amalek, we know Amalek is an Edomite, though they come from Esau, right? So let's move on. Let's read. Let's show you that, because remember, Haman is an Edomite, and then Edomites have a perpetual hatred for the Israelites. And let's read that. Let's go to Ezekiel 35.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 35, and verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed blood of the children of Israel, by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time their iniquity had an end.
So look what it says, right? It says, verse 2 says, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir. Seir that's Esau, that's Edom land, right? That's where Esau resided, right? So their perpetual hatred. So Esau has a perpetual hatred for Israel. So Haman comes on the scene in Persia, and right away there's this hatred. So let's get into it. Why though, right? Let's go back to Esther and let's read chapter 3, sorry. Chapter 3 and start at verse 5.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
You see that? So Haman wanted Mordecai to bow to him and give him reverence when he passed by, but he wasn't feeling Mordecai wasn't feeling that. He wasn't trying to respect this man, right? Let's go to Additions to Esther 10 and 5.
This is the book of Additions to Esther, chapter 10, verse 5. For I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed.
Let's go. Yeah, right. So before all of this happened, Mordecai had a dream of this happening, right? This is why in the last class that I did called Dragons, I showed you how it was all about Haman and Mordecai and them beefing with each other. So now let's go back to Esther and read that again. Esther 3 and 5.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath.
Right. So Haman wanted Mordecai to bow down, right? Let's go to verse 8
Verse 8.
in this same chapter.
And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them.
So Haman is already he's already trying to get into the king's ear and tell the king that, there's a group of people that have their own laws and their laws are contrary to the king's laws. Right? Now, this happened here, but it happens in the future again, right? In the future of the Israelites, this same situation happens again. For some reason, these nations, they always want you to follow their ways. They don't want you to follow your own laws and your own heritage. They want you always to drop your heritage and pick up their ways. Let's go to First Maccabees, and we're gonna go to chapter 1.
This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
You see that? So they always want you to drop your laws and follow their ways. They don't want you to keep the laws of God. But see, even here in America, they don't want you keeping God's laws. Even here in America, when you say that you keep the commandments, they look at you like you crazy. They even fire you from your job. If you say that you keep the Sabbath, so you can't work because you keep the Sabbath, they look for ways to fire you. Right? This is Esau. This is what Esau does, right? Keep reading.
Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath.
You see, because that's what Esau does. Esau wants you to profane the Sabbath. Esau wants you to go against God's laws. This is why Christianity teaches you to go against God's laws, because Christianity is white supremacy. It's a white man's religion. It's not of the Bible. It's white man's religion and traditions, Christmas, Easter, all this other bull crap, right? So let's get back to it, though. Let's go to Esther 3 and 10.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 3 and verse 10. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
So you see, the Jews' enemy. So Haman, being an Edomite, they know them to be enemies, right? So Haman, the rest of the freaking Edomites, they all perpetual enemies of Israel, right? So let's jump down to verse 12, and we're going to read 12 and 13.
Verse 12. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of King Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring.
So now there's a decree that went out against all the Israelites, against all the Jews, because of what Haman said, right? So now it's not only about the fact that that Mordecai didn't reverence him or Mordecai didn't bow down. It goes deeper. It's a spiritual thing that the Edomites just cannot stand the Israelites. They have this perpetual hatred, like Ezekiel said, right? So let's go to Esther. Did you read 4?
4?
No, sorry. Let's go to let's move and go to Esther 4, chapter 4, and we're gonna start at verse 15.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 15. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer: Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Susan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink, neither drink days,
3 days.
night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go into the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
So she's getting ready to speak up for the Israelites. She's going to go to her king and she's going to speak up and petition for her fellow Israelites, right? But she's saying, if I die, because Persians had a different way of doing things. You couldn't just go to him, to the king, and talk to him. You had to request, right? And she's like, well, when I go in and I talk to him, if I die, so be it. At least I stood up for my people and I tried to petition for my people, right? Read on.
Verse
Wait, go to 17.
17? Oh, it's not on here.
Not on there? I'll read verse 17. It says, so Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him. Right? Let's go to 5 and 1.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 5, verse 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house.
Read on.
Over against the gate of the house.
Read on. Verse 2.
There's no 2.
All right.
This goes to 3.
Yeah, just go to 3.
Verse 3. Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be given thee to half of the kingdom. Verse 4.
Read that again.
Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be even given thee to half the kingdom.
So he's saying, whatever you want, you could even get half the kingdom, whatever you want. What's your request? So read on.
Verse 4. And Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him.
So Esther wants the king and Haman to show up at this banquet that she's going to do for them, because at this point, Esther is going to actually set up Haman, right? She's going to expose Haman for everything that Haman was saying and the decree that he put out, right? So where we at? Verse 4? Let's go to verse 9.
Verse 9. Then went Haman forth that day, joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
You see? Read that again. Read it again.
Then went Haman forth that day, joyful and with a glad heart.
So Haman, he found out that he was going to be invited to this banquet that she was throwing, and him being all gassed up, he's all joyful and everything. Read on.
But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai.
You see? So again, Mordecai didn't reverence him again. Mordecai was like, man, get out of here. I don't even like you, dude. And Haman was mad. Haman wanted him to bow to him, but no. Mordecai ignored his rank, basically. All right? Let's go to verse 14.
Verse 14. Then said Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, yes. And he caused the gallows to be made.
So Haman's wife is like, yo, you know what? Just kill him, just hang him. Make some gallows and hang him. Like, screw this man, meaning Mordecai. Screw Mordecai. Let's just hang him, kill him. So they're gonna make these gallows before the banquet, right? All right. Let's go to chapter 6 now. Remember, we're trying to break down the story, right? So everyone understands why is it called a memorial of destruction, right? Why this even happened. So Esther 6, and let's read 1 to 3.
This is the book of Esther chapter 6, verse 1. On that night could not the king sleep, And he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles.
So read on.
And they were read before the king.
So remember when Mordecai told on those two men that were planning to kill the king, that was recorded in a book. And so it was recorded in a book. And so the king, he couldn't sleep one night and he said, yo, bring those books. I want to read them. And this is where he takes the book and he reads about Mordecai. Read on.
And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigdana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus.
So he's like, oh, sweat. He goes, I remember this. Oh, sweat. Yeah, it was Mordecai, right? Read on.
And the king said, what honor and dignity hath been done to Mordecai for this?
So the king is like, yo, did we look out for Mordecai? Did we give him payment for doing this? Did we honor him for doing what he did, for telling me that people were planning to kill me? Right? Read on.
Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him.
There was nothing done for him. Even though he saved your life by telling you that they were going to kill you, there was nothing done for him, right? Read on. Let's go to verse 5.
Verse 5. And the king's servants said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in.
Read on.
So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do an honor more than to myself?
So Haman, filled with freaking pride, he thought that the king was talking about him. He's like, oh yeah, you're gonna honor me. Like I'm the dude that you want to honor. Like he's feeling himself, right? This guy is crazy. Let's read on.
Verse 7. And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighteth to honor, let the royal apparel be brought which the king useth to wear.
Yo, Haman thinks that the king is talking to him. They're talking about him. So the king is like, yo, how can we honor this guy? Like, what should we do to honor this guy? And Haman, thinking that he's the guy that's being honored, is like, yo, bring the royal apparel that the king wears and let me wear it. So he wants to wear the king's apparel, thinking that he's the man that's going to be honored. Read on.
And the horse that the king rideth upon.
And his horse. He wants his garment and he wants the king's horse. Read on.
And the crown royal which is set upon his head.
He even wants the king's crown. This guy is delusional. He's so freaking prideful. He wants the king's garment, the king's horse, the king's crown. Read on.
And let his apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delighteth to honor.
Did you see this? So because he thinks it's him. He's so full of himself and so prideful, he really thinks that the king is talking about him. Read on.
And bring him on horseback through the street of the city and proclaim before him.
He even wants a procession. This dude wants he wants a parade, right? He's so full of himself, he literally wants a parade. Yo, Haman is crazy. That's Edomites. Edomites are crazy like that, right? Read on.
Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. Then the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew.
So the king is like, yo, everything that you just said, yeah, do it. But take that and give it to Mordecai. It's not you, it's Mordecai. So imagine how mad Haman must have been at that moment. Read on.
That sit at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken.
Let nothing fail. Remember Mordecai, in addition to Esther, he said, I had a dream of this and nothing failed. Right? Read on. Verse 11.
Verse 11?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, there is no verse
11. I'll read it. This is verse 11, and it says, Then took Haman the apparel and the horse and arrayed Mordecai and brought him on horseback through the street of the city and proclaimed before him, Thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor. So imagine how mad Haman had to be, because this was Haman's idea. Haman thought he was going to be the one to be, arrayed in the king's apparel and the king's crown and everything. And then next thing you know, Mordecai gets it. All right. Let's go to Additions to Esther 10 and 5. Because remember what I said, that nothing failed? Read on.
This is the book of Additions to Esther, chapter 10, verse 5. For I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed.
And nothing hath failed. Remember, this even the king said it, and none of this is going to fail. Everything is going to go according to plan, right? Everything is going according to the dream that Mordecai had. And the only way you can understand this dream is if you read Additions to Esther, right? Because it's not in the original Esther, it's in Additions to Esther where you really start to understand everything, right? This is where you get the understanding. So let's go back to Esther and let's go to chapter 7. And we're going to read starting from 1 to 6.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 7, verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen, and said, King said again unto Esther,
And the king said again unto Esther.
And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, What is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to half of the kingdom.
So this is the banquet that Esther set up for the king and Haman. And now the king is like, so what's up? Well, what you want? Right? Read on.
Then Esther, the queen, answered and said, If I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given at my petition, and my people at my request.
So she's petitioning for her people. Read on.
For we are sold, and my people to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage.
So Esther is letting him know, look, we're in captivity. My people are sold for bondmen and bondwomen, just like Deuteronomy 28 says, right? You break the commandments and the laws, you'll be sold into slavery, right? Deuteronomy 28:68, right? And it's coming to play. Like Persia is one of the curses, like, for them messing up. So read on.
Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, Who is he, and where is he, that durst presume in his heart to do so?
So the king is asking Esther, who is this man that you're talking about that wants to take your people's lives? Who are you talking about? Read on.
And Esther said, The adversary and enemy is the wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
Yo, listen to the language, right? Esther called Haman, which is an Edomite, the adversary. If y'all know the Bible, y'all understand who the adversary is, right? What they call Satan. Satan is the adversary. When you look into the Hebrew, Satan means adversary. So right here, she's calling Haman Satan, the enemy. Right? Read on. Wait, do we have that? Do we have 7?
No, we don't got 7.
All right, no, we good. So real quick, adversary is Strong's H7854, and it means Satan. Adversary, one who withstands. Adversary, in general, personal, national, superhuman adversary, Satan. Right. So Satan is adversary. So when you see adversary, that's Satan. So she's calling Haman Satan. That's crazy. That is really, really crazy. Let's go to Additions to Esther. And let's read 10 and 6.
This is the book of Additions to Esther, chapter 10, verse 6. A little fountain became a river, and there was a light, and the sun, and much water. This river is Esther, who the king married and made queen. So
the reason why he's saying it like this is because this water, which I'm gonna get into a little later, this river, this it's an analogy or a metaphor for something else, right? But I just wanted to bring that up because Esther, speaking to the king as the queen, she has pull, she has say so, and so this is what's gonna turn the tables on Haman. The fact that Queen Esther is the queen, right? Because if she wasn't the queen, all Israel, all the Jews in Persia would have been done off. They would have been done. But the fact that we had a queen who was an Israelite married to this heathen, we would end up, she got pulled and she got her way, right? Let's go to. I don't want to lose myself. Let's go back to Esther and let's go to 7 and verse 9.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 7, verse 9. And Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, Behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who has spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, Hang him thereon.
So the king said, yo, you know what? Since this dude is the one that's saying to go kill all the Jews and putting out a decree, and he made these gallows to hang Mordecai, you know what? Go hang him instead. Hang him on his own gallows, the gallows that he made. Hang him on them. So now they're gonna hang Haman. So what Haman was planning to do to the Jews and Mordecai, he got it done to himself, right? Okay. Let's go to additions to Esther, and let's go to chapter 16. And let's start at 21 to 24. 21 to 24.
This is the book of additions to Esther, chapter 16, verse 21. For Almighty God hath turned to joy unto them the day wherein the chosen people should have perished.
So what he's saying is God turned this day to joy rather than which is going to be agony and pain and death. He instead turned the tables and turned it into joy. So now it's a joyful day because we're saved. We're not going to be put to death. We're not going to get killed, but rather they're going to get killed and they're going to be put to death. This is the memorial of destruction, right? Read on.
Ye shall therefore among your solemn feast keep it in high day with all feasting.
So it's a high holy day. Purim is a high holy day, right? Read on.
That both now and hereafter there may be safety to us and the well-affected Persians, but to those which do conspire against us a memorial of destruction.
You see, a memorial of destruction, because it was supposed to be their destruction, but instead, anyone who conspired against the Israelites, they were going to be destroyed, right? The tables turned. So now all those people that were getting that, remember, Haman sent out a letter through the lieutenants and all that. He sent out a letter, a decree to kill all the Israelites. But now all those people that were ready to kill, now they're going to get killed, right? Read on.
Therefore, every city and country whatsoever which shall not do according to these things shall be destroyed without mercy with fire and sword, and shall be made not only unpassable for men, but also most hateful to wild beasts and fowls forever.
So it says, therefore, every city and country whatsoever that any country or city that was planning to attack the Israelites, that city is going to burn. That city is going to get done off with. So now the question is, where is John 3:16? If God always loved everybody, then why is this happening? That's because that's a misinterpretation of John 3:16 that a lot of Christians have. There's no such thing as God loving everyone. No. I did a class called Misinterpretations of John 3:16. Check it out, right? All right, so let's go to Obadiah and let's go to Obadiah real quick. I want to read something in there. Obadiah 1, right? And read verse 15.
This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 15. For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen.
Wait, the what?
For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen.
It's upon all the heathen. Read on.
As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head.
So everything that the heathens are doing to the Israelites is going to turn and is going to go on them. Just like it happened with Mordecai and Haman. Just like it happened in Persia. Right? This is why Purim is actually so important. And it actually is such a high holy day, because it's a memorial of destruction. It's a foreshadow of what's to come, right? It's a foreshadow of what's to come. And if you don't think that's going to happen, let's go to Jeremiah. As a matter of fact, I'll do it. I got, let me go to Jeremiah chapter 46, and I'm going to read verse 28, right? Watch this. It says, Fear thou not, O Jacob, my servant, saith the Lord, for I am with thee, for I will make a full end of all the nations whither I have driven thee, but I will not make a full end of thee, but correct thee in measure, yet will I not leave thee wholly unpunished. So the Most High is going to make an end of all nations. It's going to be a full end of all nations. So John 3:16, the ideology that Christians have of John 3:16 is a contradiction to the rest of the scriptures. And the scriptures don't contradict themselves. You contradict the scriptures when you take scriptures out of context and misinterpret them, right? It's going to be a full end of the nations. I'll read another one. Let's go to Revelations, right? Let's go to Revelations 2. And I want to read verse 26. And I'm jumping the gun on this, but I just want to read it. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. So Purim is a foreshadow of what's to come. This is why Purim is so important. Okay, so let's skip Micah for now. Let's go back to editions of Esther, and let's read verse 10 and 5. Right? Where am I? Yeah, let's go to 10 and verse 5. Once again.
This is the book of additions to Esther, chapter 10, verse 5. For I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed.
Right, verse 6.
A little fountain became a river, and there was a light, and the sun, and much water. This river is Esther, who the king married and made queen.
Okay, so let's talk about the water now, right? So we know why Purim started. Why we understand what happened that made Purim even come to play, right? We understand that it was the hatred that Haman had for Mordecai, and that not only Mordecai but for the Jews, period, right? And the fact that Mordecai, he ain't want to bow down to this dude or nothing. He didn't want to show him reverence, right? So there was this perpetual hatred, like Ezekiel 35 says, right? So we understand why it happened, why Purim happened. Okay, but now let's get into the water, because here he's calling Esther a river, right? And much water, right? Because what a river does, a river, it's a little body of water, but then it leads into a big, right? Like an ocean, like a river then goes into an ocean, or a flood, right? So let's get John 7 and 38.
This is the book of John, chapter 7, verse 38. He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water.
So the question is your belly going to literally flow with water? Right? What is this talking about? He that believeth on me, as the scripture hath said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. What is that? What does that mean? What does it mean that out of your belly is going to flow rivers of water? What is that talking about? Right? What that's talking about is the word of God. That's the river. That's the river of water. That's the word of God. Let's prove it, right? Let's go to John 15 and 3. Sorry.
This is the book of John, chapter 15, verse 3. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you.
Now you are clean, right? Because water, it cleans you, right? If you're dirty, you take a bath. You take the water, right? That water cleans you. So this word is going to clean you. The word is the water, right? The water is the word. Let's prove it more. Let's go to Ephesians 5 and 26.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 26. That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word.
By the washing of water, right? By the word. Read it again.
that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word.
Right? So the word is that water that cleanses you. So when Mordecai called Esther a river, right? A river of much water is that word. It's that faith, everything that about God, that word that comes out. Let's show more, right? Let's go to 1 Corinthians and let's go to chapter 3 and verse 6.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 6. I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase.
Read it again.
I have planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase.
I have planted, Apollos watered. So this is Paul. Paul is saying, I have planted, but Apollos watered. What do you do when you water something? You giving it the word. So, all right, so I'll give you an example. I have planted. That's like me, right? That's like me. Let's say you have a friend, right? You have a Puerto Rican friend, right? And I meet your friend and I tell him, yo, you Puerto Rican? And he said, yeah. I said, yo, you from the tribe of Ephraim, right? I planted a seed. That's it. That's what Paul is saying. I have planted. Apollos watered. So Apollos is a man, and this man is now going to teach you, or like you are Apollos, and now you teach your friend how he's from the tribe of Ephraim. You see that? Because you're watering it. That's the water. That's the teaching, giving him the word. That's why it says watered, because like when you water a plant, right, it got to grow. So when you water something, you're giving it the word. So this is how we know that when the scriptures say water and stuff like that, this is referring to the word, God's word, right? The scriptures. Let's get one more. Let's get Revelations. As a matter of fact, we're going to get a few more. Let's get Revelations 22 and 1.
This is the book of Revelations, chapter 22 and verse 1. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb.
See that? So the water is the word, right? It says, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. This means that they're speaking the word and they're making it clear. They're giving you the word clearly so you could understand this. There's no interpretation. It's not it's not an interpretation or anything. It's the word as is, clear so you can understand. Let me prove that. Let's go to Nehemiah. We're going to go to Nehemiah 8, right? Nehemiah 8 and 8. Yeah, Nehemiah 8 and 8. Watch this. We pull this out when brothers are in camp or in the street teaching, they pull this out a lot. Watch this. Read it.
This is the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 8. They read from the book, from the law of God, clearly, and they gave the sense so that the people understood the reading.
Right. So Nehemiah, what I got is King James, but he got the NLT. But it says, so they read in the book of the law of God clearly and gave the sense and caused them to understand the reading. So when you read it, they made it clear. They made it clear to understand. Let's go back to Revelations. Right? Let's go back to Revelations. What was it? Revelations 22 and 1. Read it.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 22 and verse 1. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb.
Right, so it wasn't real water. It's a metaphor. That water is the word that's coming out of God and the Lamb. It's showing us and teaching us clearly how to follow the scriptures and how to understand the scriptures. That's what it's talking about. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up. I'm just gonna give you a few scriptures, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Right. I want to go to. Let me see if I could go back to. Okay. Let's read chapter 10, right? Additions, that's chapter 10, and start at verse 1. No, my bad. 11.
This is the book of additions to Esther, chapter 10, verse 11. And these two lots came at the hour, and time and day of judgment before God amongst all nations. So God remembered his people and justified his inheritance.
Wait, where you at?
10 and 11.
No, I think you're
on 16. You're on chapter 16.
Oh, my bad. My bad. All right, read it again.
This is the book of additions to Esther, chapter 10, verse 11. And these two lots came at the hour and time and day of judgment before God amongst all nations. So God remembered his people and justified his inheritance.
Read on.
It goes to chapter 13.
All right, let me read it. So, verse 11, and these two lots came at the hour and the time and day of judgment before God among all nations. So God remembered his people and justified his inheritance. Right? Therefore, those days shall be unto them in the month Adar, the 14th and 15th day of the same month, with an assembly and joy and with gladness before God, according to the generations, forever amongst his people. So this is Purim being established, right? In the month of Adar on the 14th and 15th day. All right. Let's go to chapter 13 real quick. And read verse 15.
This is the book of additions to Esther, chapter 13, verse 15. And now, O Lord God and King, spare thy people, for their eyes are upon us, to bring us to naught. Yea, they desire to destroy the inheritance that have been thine from the beginning.
Read it again.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
And now, O Lord God and King, spare thy people, for their eyes are upon us, to bring us to naught. Yea, they desire to destroy the inheritance that have been thine from the beginning.
So remember, the Israelites is God's inheritance, right? From the beginning. This has been from the beginning, that the inheritance of God is Israel, right? The Israelites, Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Not those fake ones over there, but, us. Let's get, let's go to chapter 11 and verse 7.
This is the book of additions to Esther, chapter 11, verse 7. And at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people.
Wait, read that again.
And at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, and they might fight against the righteous people.
All nations. All nations. Remember, this is a foreshadow. All nations are prepared to battle the righteous people. The righteous people, that's Israelites. All right. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. So remember, all nations were prepared to fight the people, right? The righteous people. These are the people that go against the Israelites. So let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, and we're going to read chapter 18 and verse 7.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18, verse 7. So of thy people was accepted both of the salvation of the righteous and destruction of the enemies.
So of thy people was accepted both salvation of the righteous and destruction of the enemies. See, so the other nations are going to perish, point blank. And the thing about it is this, right? We can't save everyone. You might have a friend of another nation that he's gonna perish, and you have to accept that, because for that person to perish, that's how you get salvation. You get salvation by your enemy dying, by your enemy being put to death. That is salvation, and we're gonna prove it. Let's go to Luke. We're gonna go to Luke 1. And we're going to close out with this one right here. Let's go to Luke 1 and verse 68. Let's start at verse 68. Because people need to understand that you're not getting salvation. We're going to show you what salvation is. Go ahead.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people.
His people, read on.
and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David.
Salvation for us. A horn of salvation for us. Read on.
As he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began.
Since the beginning, go ahead.
That we should be saved from our enemies.
That we should be what?
Saved from our enemies.
Saved from our enemies. This is salvation, being saved from your enemies. If you have somebody who's getting raped, right? And someone doing the rape, and they both praying to God, which one is gonna get saved? Or they both get saved? What is the penalty for rape in the law? Death. You get put to death. So how is it that the rapee and the rapist both get saved? It's not possible. That's not how God works. That's how you work. That's how your mind works. But that's not how God is going to punish that rapee. God is going to punish that slaveholder. God is going to punish that wicked person. You both can't pray to God and both be saved. The one that's doing the damage is the one that gets destroyed. And the one that was receiving the damage is the one that gets saved. It's common sense, right? Read on.
To perform the mercy promised.
No, read 71 again.
That we should be saved from our enemies and from the land of all that hate us.
Read on.
To perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant.
His holy covenant. His holy covenant, which is Israel, right? The covenant is made with Israel and only Israel. Go to Hebrews 8 and 8. Let's show the new covenant, right? The new covenant that people say, oh, we're in the new covenant, but they're not even part of this covenant. That's crazy. Where's this? Go read Hebrews 8 and 8.
This is the book of Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 8. For finding fault with them, thee saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel.
Israel?
And with the house of Judah.
Judah. Where's everybody else? Ain't nobody else in that covenant, right? So with that, I'm going to say shalom. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button and share. Shalom, y'all.